Are you tired of feeling run down and exhausted? In our fast-paced world, we're often surrounded by toxins that impact our well-being. I provide holistic solutions designed to detoxify your body and environment. With cutting-edge AO voice scan technology, we identify the root causes of your discomfort or dis-ease, making personalized healing easier than ever. Start your transformative journey towards a healthier, toxin-free life, because at White Sands Self-Care, your well-being is our priority.
Most people aren't broken. They're just dysregulated. Chronic stress, pain, anxiety, and burnout aren't mindset failures. They're nervous systems stuck in survival. I'm Leland Holgate, combat veteran and neuroscientist, and I created the Welcome Home method to help people rewire their nervous systems with breath. Catch my episode on Mindful Mondays with Laura Cross. And to go deeper, visit thewillfulwarrior.com.
Well, welcome everyone to another Mindful Monday. You know, if you have been struggling with chronic pain, injury, emotional overwhelm, or burnout, then this episode is for you. I have the incredible honor of welcoming Leland Holgate Sr., a true beacon of resilience and transformation. And Leland is not just a combat veteran and neuroscientist. He's the founder of the Willful Warrior and the brilliant mind behind the Welcome Home method. His work is reshaping the landscape of human performance by bridging the gap between science and practical applications. And imagine living in a world where chronic pain, emotional overwhelm, and burnout are not just accepted, but understood as issues rooted in our nervous system. Leland's insights will challenge us to rethink our relationship with stress and clarity. So, having overcome life-altering injuries and chronic dysregulation himself, he embodies the journey of turning adversity into advantage. So I hope you are ready to step off the sidelines of your life, because as Leland would say, you were never meant to be rescued, you were meant to rise. So Leland, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me here.
Absolutely. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got into, because I know you're a combat veteran. That's quite the jump from combat veteran to neuroscientist.
Yeah, very, very polar opposites, right?
Right.
Yeah. I joined the military early, and I always joke, I think I made this joke with you. I got tired of being told what to do, so I joined the military. And you understand it more when you realize I came from a military family. So I'm like 15th or 16th generation. My dad was Army Special Forces. He was a Ranger. So you can kind of imagine, without me even opening up details on that childhood, what that was like. So of course, I was ready to exit stage left as soon as possible. And the military was the quickest, easiest, and simplest way to find my way out onto my own. So yeah, I joined when I was 17 and
Wow.
Enlisted in the Air Force.
Yeah, you and I kind of both have that. Well, I don't have that many generations, I don't believe, back, but I did follow my father's footsteps in the military, so I can definitely relate to that. So, yeah. But you had some life-altering and threatening injuries, right? And so can you share that a little bit with us about that, so people can kind of understand where you're coming from and how you got to the neuroscience and helping people?
Yeah, absolutely. That will actually help bridge the gap for folks, because, of course, as we talked about, polar opposites. How the hell did you go from combat veteran to neuroscientist? That's interesting. So to start, I was part of one of the most deployed squadrons in the United States military, not just the Air Force. I had passed all the tests and went through SEER training and got my expert marksman, did all of the extra combat stuff that a lot of us in the Air Force don't get to do. So I was tasked to, again, one of the most deployed squadrons in the military. Our last combat arena was Kosovo, if anybody remembers the Yugoslavia conflict. On our way out of that conflict, we were lit up or painted or targeted by what seemed to be surface-to-air missile. So you can imagine all the training that we're taught goes right out the window when you're in this big clunky cargo aircraft taking off. Like, okay, yeah, there's nothing I can do. in
Right.
this instance whatsoever. I'm just a passenger. So there was a lot of helplessness. And I mean, this plane was filled with the most elite you can think of, SEALs and Rangers and Green Beret, and all of them looking at me for answers. I'm like, dude, I'm in the same boat you are. Like, I don't know if we're going to make it over past the next 10 minutes or so. So when we came back, of course, you can imagine we had a lot of steam to blow off. So we got our 3-day pass when we came back from that conflict, and we went out, and we can't just do, let's go ride a moped or something. You know, I'm sure you know our type. Like,
It doesn't quite hold up to the adrenaline that you're used to.
exactly. Yeah. Like when you're used to jumping out of aircraft and like, you know, sitting at the edge of a cargo ramp in mid-flight, like it's going to take something getting the haunches up on the back of your neck. So we decided it would be a really great idea to grab a super fast watercraft and get pulled behind that watercraft on an inner tube. Like everybody does that, right? Well, of course, being us, we had to take it to the next level. I couldn't just get pulled on the inner tube. It was this ridiculous game of who can throw who off faster than the other person kind of thing, right? So
Right.
here it is, my turn, and I find myself holding on to this thing for dear life. I goaded the driver, you know, you name it, called him all the names, like stop driving, you know. So of course the skips became less and less, and I immediately tuned into like, this is really bad. This is not a good idea. He cuts left, and the moment he cut left, I just flung off this thing like a slingshot, and all I remember was black as soon as I hit the water. And if anybody has ever hit the water at high speeds, it's like concrete. There's no give whatsoever. So that was it. I snapped back. Little did I know I had snapped my neck at C1, C2. So right where the brain stem, top parts, it's all the survival things, right? Heart
Right.
rate, you know, blood pressure, breathing, everything turned off. So I'm floating face down. Thank God I had a life jacket on, because at least my brother, who was on a wave runner, could see me, tore ass over to me, picked me up out of the water and wore me like a belt, and just took off towards shore. So we get to shore, and about 7 or 8 people help him carry me onto the shore. And no coincidences, there's a state trooper literally hundreds of feet away, like taking a break or whatever.
Right.
So he comes over to immediately start resuscitation and gets me back. Thankfully, obviously, here I am. But it was a very peaceful experience. I had one of those out-of-body experiences where there's no thoughts, there's no wants, there's no connected like desire for any outcome whatsoever. I'm literally just watching this as a nonpartisan, you know, player in this. Like, oh, isn't that interesting type of thing.
Yeah.
It was the most peaceful experience I had ever had, which is funny enough why my method is called the welcome home method, because it brings you to that place. So extreme contrast, super peaceful experience to slamming down into my body. Obviously he gets me back. I was dead for about 3 minutes and 48 seconds. No heart rate, no breathing. He gets me back. I wake up in the ambulance. And when I come to, it was like I was flashbanged. You know, the Peanuts or Charlie Brown adults, the way they talk.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it
Yeah.
sounded like. They're asking me questions, but all I hear is, yeah. And then there's beeps and there's lights and there's all of this stimulation. And I have this horse collar on my neck. Oh, don't mind me. That's the AI doing its thing. So I have this horse collar on my neck, and all I can feel is this extreme pain at the base of my cranium called the occipital lobe there. And then I have this guy, finally I can start to hear what he's saying. It's, Holgate, can you feel that? Holgate, can you feel that? Are you with us? And eventually, moving from confusion to what the hell is this guy talking about? It was what are you talking about? Can I feel what? And his answer was something you never want to hear your doctor, EMT, or pilot say. It was, oh no. And the moment he said that, my eyes opened. I'm like, what do you mean, oh no? What? That was the moment I tuned into, hold on, where are my hands? Where are my arms? Why does it feel like there's an elephant on my chest? It's hard to breathe. I can't swallow. What's happening? And that was when the terror set in that I couldn't feel anything below my Adam's apple. And that was, yeah. So it was like that extreme contrast between most peaceful experience on the planet to what the hell just happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
yeah. Yeah. I'll
Have
leave
you,
it there for your questions because I'm sure there's
oh
numerous.
no, but that's that's kind of incredible in itself, and that's for one, the fact that you came back after technically being dead for 3 minutes and 48 seconds, which can do damage to the brain and stuff with not having oxygen as it is. But you said you can't feel anything from your Adam's apple down, but yet you could feel pain in your chest, or you said you felt like you had an elephant on your chest. So how do you?
Yeah, it was as far as how hard it was to breathe. Like that's that when I say elephant on my chest, I just noticed my breathing was
Oh,
really labored. I
okay,
couldn't feel anything there, but it
right,
felt like something heavy was like sitting on my chest, not letting me breathe fully because obviously diaphragm's not working.
yeah.
All of these things that are supposed to help me breathe are not working. So I couldn't feel anything. But yeah, it was just the labored breathing tuned me into like, what the heck, man? Who is stopping me from breathing right now?
Yeah, and so I'm sure because you were still active duty at the time, and we always joke around because anything's wrong with you, you go to the Air Force says, "Oh, here's 600 milligrams of Motrin," like that's gonna feel like that's gonna fix everything. I mean, they always just want to throw like a drug or something at you, but that would basically ended your career then.
Pretty much. Yeah. It was, I mean, at that point in time, I was weeks away from going to do my Hell Week. I'd let my first sergeant know, especially after that helpless moment that we had. I was like, that's it, man. I love being a C-130 loadmaster, but I've already done all the SEER training and everything else. All I got to do is pass my Hell Week, and I'm Special Forces. I'm combat control. So I had let him know my intention about
Right.
carrying forward. And yeah, that was like weeks before I had my option, my chance to go. And I know I would have passed, but
Yeah.
that effectively, to your point, ended my career. I mean, what am I going to do after that? They don't want you.
But and I know it wasn't easy, but it actually put you on a very beautiful path, I would say, that you have now. So kind of directed you to a new path. But maybe you can tell us a little about that because I know other people struggle because we know I call it a sick care system. You can call it healthcare. I call it sick care system.
It is.
They always want to throw drugs, or it always seems like doom and gloom, and no one looks like at the whole body. Now, you were paralyzed, right, from
Yeah.
the neck down. Obviously, you are not. I know we haven't had you stand up, but you are there. There is nothing paralyzed about you. You stand up, you walk, you function. How did you do all that? What was that
Yeah,
like?
yeah. And to your point, yeah, sick care system. It is not healthcare. One of the things I'm studying right now, finishing my master's in biomedical neuroscience, and then moving into a doctorate in neurochemistry. And this reason was my push into this because when they came into the room, you can imagine the vacuuming of hope that happened from these so-called doctors and medicine practitioners. Like they just basically gave me everything I did not want to hear just shy of my 20th birthday. You can't fix nerve tissue. You're stuck like this. We're going to put in wheelchair ramps. Don't worry, you'll have 24-hour palliative care and all this other stuff. Like, how does that make me feel good, guys? You just like vacuumed the jelly out of my donut, and then you're trying to make me feel good about it. Like, this doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. So after finding out my condition, of course, finding the contusion on the upper spinal column, which is a bruise for those that don't know that term, was about silver dollar size. So it makes sense why everything shut down. Breathing, everything shut down. And as far as back in 1999, neuroplasticity was still a baby inside of neuroscience. They were still convinced there's no such thing as neurogenesis. The nerves you're born with, the nerves you get, once they're gone, that's all you get. Thank God that is not the truth. I promise you that is not the truth.
You're living proof, and yeah, that
Yes.
frustrates me too because I've heard doctors say that no, once your nerves are damaged, that's it. And I'm like, yeah, no, you can
Doesn't work.
regenerate them.
Yeah, does not work that way, or else we'd be dead by the time we were 20 years old as far as life experience. So yeah, it moved from that. And then funny enough, the bridge for me was all of the specialized training, SEER training, POW training. Because in that, they really pound into your head. You're not forgotten. 3 strikes, you're not out. Continue to resist. Keep fighting. We're coming for you. You're not forgotten. We're coming. We're coming. All of those things were kicking in as this doctor is trying to manage my life expectations and telling me what's possible. Well, finally, I'd had enough. And right about the second, almost third day, I just yelled at the top of my lungs at this guy to get the hell out of my room. Because the last thing I need right now is limiting speeches and beliefs. And I don't want to hear more about the ramps and special chair you're going to get me and all these. That does not make me feel good right now. I'm still stuck in this. What the hell just happened to my life? So after I yelled at him, there was this amazing energy that went down my scalenes, just to the edge. It was just a little bit, not a lot. But the fact that that happened and I felt something that I hadn't felt in over 48 hours, like eyes went wide open. And I was like, okay, yeah, no, for real, doc, get the hell out of my room and send my friends in. We got some conversations to have because something just happened you told me was impossible and was not going to happen. So in that moment, I had immediately switched my positioning from, and this is where doctors are super important. They are the authority. As far as I was concerned, this guy knew what he was talking about. I did not until that experience happened. And then I knew for a fact he was full of trash and garbage and it's programming and there's more possible here than what he tells me is possible. So when the student is ready, the teacher shall appear moment. The physiotherapist that they had assigned to me was the one male PT back in that day and age, which already is a very small number. And then he was also an Ashtanga yogi. So he taught Ashtanga yoga. And all of yoga, no matter what, and I've gone through my yoga training as well. I'm also a teacher trainer now. It's all 95% what we call pranayama, breath work, mindset control, so you can control the life force of the entire body and organism. Well, he walks in and starts giving me my first, what's called Bastrika inside of yoga. It's very similar to like the bellows breath for those that have done it, like a breath of fire, or those have done Wim Hof, which is a Tumo style breathing, very similar to that. Okay. So I followed his lead and I went through this thing, even though you can imagine at 20 years old, when dude walked in and started talking about yoga, I was like, man, if I could move my legs right now,
I'd kick you.
I'd kick you in the throat. Yoga, that's hilarious. Wow, who sent you in here? This dude, that was a funny joke. But, finally, all of what he was saying made sense to me. So I let him take me through my first breath expression. And when I held my breath, which is called a kumbhaka or a hold inside of yoga, bing, zoom, I was back in that place again. It was just elation and peace and no worry or concern. I mean, it just felt so peaceful and amazing. And then when I had landed back into my body, I started having just these little like jolts of static electricity in the very top part of my chest. And again, my eyes flew open and I was like a 5-year-old with him, who you did the airplane with again. Like it was immediate. I was like, let's do that again. And he took me through another round. And again, these little hits of static electricity in these areas I could not feel and was told I would not gain back. And that was it. As you can imagine, I dug in like a tick on this breath work. I had nowhere else to go. What else was I going to do? Stuck in bed, getting fed. And,
right.
So yeah, that was for me the connecting moment. And of course, there's more that led me down the neuroscientist path, neurology and epigenetics and all these other things. But that was the connecting bridge for me that, hold on a minute, something as simple as breath can bring back nervous function, can elicit neurotransmitters and neuromodulators inside of your body. Oh my God. Okay. You just introduced me to something that's going to change my life. And it did. Within probably the first 50 days, not even 2 months, I had 60% of my upper body back. I wasn't able to really get fine muscle function back, but still I was lifting my arms. I was sitting up and doing all of these things, blowing the doctors away for one. And then for me, it just pushed me to further move into this. So within 2 years, I limped away from that and I just didn't stop learning. how to connect the dots between the East and the West, right? Science meets soul. Like they've been doing this for thousands of years. How does that work though? I need to know how that works. So that led me here.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily that doctors are bad. They know what they know. They're specialized in what they do, and it can be helpful. But I guess the thing, and you and I had talked a little bit about it once before, the incredible thing is how much you were drilled into on how to survive and how to do this and how to fight. Yet here you have a medical professional that essentially just kind of gave up and was just trying to tell you that just to accept that this is the way it is now.
Yeah, they were trying to like they were giving me an opposite story of what I had already been trained. Like, whoa, hold on, this doesn't compute for me.
Yeah, it's like, and I've seen that happen with, friends of mine and stuff where they do this and they just say, oh, well, eventually you're going to be in a wheelchair. Let's put a ramp in front of here. Let's do, why do you want that in your mind and look at
Right?
this ramp all the time when you're still functioning? Why is someone not focusing on, hey, if we can change a mindset, breath work, there's other things, right, that we can do to improve our health. But
Exactly. And that's where I think one of our conversations that we've had, and I love what you do because it's the same thing for me. Let's take the whole organism, including mentality, into account when we think about this thing we call healing, which is all a journey, right? If
mhm,
I'm not taking your psychology into account and making sure that I at least give you some sort of encouragement, well, then I'm not helping you heal. I'm not leading you down the path that's going to best serve you because I'm giving you limitations to automatically overcome, like you said.
right. Yeah.
How am I going to teach you how to walk again while also saying, let's just make sure the wheelchair is there in case? Hold on, what?
Yeah, I'm like, that's like saying, "Hey, look, this is where you're going." It's like, "No, that's not what I wanna focus on. This is where I wanna go in the opposite direction."
Exactly. I want a life without wheelchairs. Can we like work on that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and you mentioned it with mindset and stuff. So you had the feelings of frustration. I know yoga was getting it. What strategies helped you to rewire the mindset during that process? Did you have particular strategies that were helping you change that?
At that point in time, I hadn't. And funny enough, you know how of course there's pieces to the journey that drop in. At that point
Mhm.
in time, I hadn't let the mental or psychological aspects of yoga fall onto me
Right.
yet. I was so young that I found this new shiny toy that was helping me get my body back. So I focused on all of the physical sides of things that I could do to get it back. So I inevitably, after getting back up on that, I still had the childhood, I still had combat and all these
Mhm.
other things that I had to deal with. So I went through a bit of my own messy middle, alcoholism. I went down the typical psychiatric path that they put us on in the military. You know, hey doc, I can't sleep. I'm smelling, I'm hearing everything from my experience, and I can't let it go. So that eventually I found myself on 13 different medications and benzos and the whole thing turning you into a zombie essentially. So yeah, it took a little bit to come back from that, turned me into inevitably, as it does most, a drug addict and an alcoholic because I just got so used to numbing. What could I do to numb this? So what I had found was that actually drove me screaming towards the psychological aspect of yoga. And then that was when I had started putting the pieces together for myself that the reason I gained the function back that I did, and keep in mind, in those 10 years that I was in the messy middle, I was losing function that I had gained because of the psychological aspect. So it was interesting. Like I would wake up one day and all of a sudden my feet are numb and I couldn't get them going for like 2 to 3 hours. And I'd have to sit with my breath work. And I'm like, what the hell? I got all this back. Why am I slipping backwards? And again, it was the whole aspect that I had to take on that helped me realize this has to be a whole organism care program. I can't just focus on, okay, breath work does this for the body. Great. What's it doing for the mind? What's it doing for your mentality? What's it doing for your mood and all these other things? So it took me a little bit of figuring, but once I finally included more of the yoga pieces, with the neuroscientific pieces, that was when I had struck gold. That's when I kind of figured it out, was, right about 2015, 2016, it all kind of hit me at once.
Wow. And so that's another good part, because you, like you said, you have the yoga, and we say mindset. And I've always told people, I always said mindset is everything. And I know you would argue with that, because, and it's, you have proof, it's not just mindset. So maybe you can talk to us about the nervous system, the dysregulation of the nervous system, and what you mean by that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love your entry into this, because this is where we get to look at whole care. And that it doesn't matter what your modality is, it doesn't matter what your mode of healing is. If you're taking all three pieces of the body, the body itself, the mind, and the spirit into
Mm-hmm.
consideration, you are whole healing yourself or the organism. So when we look at your nervous system, the nervous system is the connection between the metaphysical and the physical, right? It is also the bridge between the conscious and the subconscious mind. It is literally the CEO of this experience. Everything is passed through your nervous system and transmitted from your nervous system. So you can think all the fluffy thoughts that you want, you can say all the fluffy language that you want, but if you're not regulating the nervous system, and by that I mean if you're not upregulating certain happy, relaxed hormones, down regulating certain stress hormones, if you're not switching on very specific neurotransmitters and modulators, all of that positive thought and all of that positive speech is going nowhere. It's literally doing nothing. And in fact, it may even cause further frustration, because there's no joining of the two, which is what yoga is all about. It's all about yoking these two things, or a union of these things. So when you look at regulating the nervous system, it has to come from that place of both the psychological and the physiological. I'm doing this so that I can change the literal chemical makeup of my body and my mind. And then I'm also allowing this energetic release that allows a very big shift inside of the system, which is where all of the psychological healing comes from. So you can't have one without the other, right? You have some
Right.
that are mentality is everything, some that, your way, well, it's in the middle, actually. It's the two together that work.
Yeah, it's kind of like throwing supplements at people, but if they don't change their lifestyle and what they're doing, it doesn't matter how many how many supplements you throw, it's not going to fix. It's like people just want something to cover up so they can keep doing what they want to do, instead of making adjustments and saying this is not good of what I'm doing and making the change. It's
Yeah,
all together.
exactly. Exactly. And to your point, you pointed out one of the broken parts of the healing nature and mindset that we have in this world. You cannot take supplements, or you cannot take a way that works for somebody else and think it's going to work for you. Your body has its own deficiencies, its own needs, and your nervous system is locked into very specific hormones and very specific neurotransmitters. So that's what's great about the breath, the welcome home method that I've created, and the view and the doctor I'm training to become, is it takes a very personalized approach. I have all of these practices. I have all of these different modalities that I can help you with. But the first thing that we do is we step in and I look at your blood work. I look at everything from a psychological standpoint, so I can see what your needs are. And I think you pointed out, again, one of the biggest downfalls right now in this healing culture is we think that person told me this supplement's good for that, I should buy that and take it. We don't know if your DNA methylation is actually going to be able to handle that. We don't know if you're deficient in that. So don't just go taking things because you see a good commercial, please.
Yeah, I mean, there's almost kind of like stages, because to people that have done nothing ever healthy, some of it can help to a point, but it's not going to get them maybe necessarily to what they need unless they have people like you. And I love that, because I get so tired of everybody that just thinks, oh, this is my program, this is it, this works for every. Doesn't work for everybody. We're all different. That's why we're called individuals, right? We're individual for a reason. It's not the same. So,
Exactly. And I can take two people that are genetically and chemically exactly the same, put them in the same room or same experience, and measure their nervous systems. And did you know I will get two different measurements?
oh, I
Because
believe it.
those two people are experiencing things differently, because it's two different nervous systems. So, yeah, to your point.
Yeah, it's like every now and then I'll even argue with my fiance because he'll be like, "This is," I said, "No, you and I can watch the same thing, but we're going to get something different out of it, and we're going to see it different." So we would illustrate it or explain it differently to somebody. So that may make sense to you.
Exactly.
Doesn't mean it's going to make sense to me.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, your welcome home method, it integrates the modern neuroscience with ancient practices. So, how do you find the balance between those two worlds and what insights have emerged from the integration of them?
Yeah, funny enough, it's to the conversation we're having now, right? Personalization and personalized needs. Because I found the same thing in yoga and the Eastern philosophies that I'm finding in the Western philosophies. This cookie cutter approach. This breath helps this. This breath helps that. Okay. But again, my body and my nervous system have very different needs. So I could do that breath you tell me is healthy, and even the ancient texts tell me is healthy, but it might upregulate a neurotransmitter inside of me that is hyper or overstimulated already. So now that breath is actually bad for me. So very similar to, nothing against Wim Hof. For all of you that love Wim Hof, I trained under him. Amazing individual. But I have had to pull our combat veterans off of his methods several times because that is something that is very healthy. However, if you're not psychologically sound and in a good mental state, that can create a psychotic episode inside of somebody who's already overstimulated because it's a very overstimulating breath. What do
Yeah.
you know? So with the welcome home method, what I did was I spent a good 10 years of my research and study taking everything from the Tao, the Vedas, Patanjali's sutras, all of these ancient texts, and pulling all of these different breath modalities and healing modalities out of them, and then taking and experimenting with specific patterns, timings, holds on the top, holds on the bottom, which do very different things inside of the body neurochemically. And in that, I found, okay, all of these things they're telling us are true, but they were not meant to be taken literally, as we talked about, as a cookie cutter approach. You can't read the Veda texts and then tell somebody else, you should do this breath, this pose, and this pose, because it's going to be great for you. You have to make sure that person actually has a deficiency that breath is going to help. And that's what the welcome home method does. It is hands down, of course, I'm very biased, it's the only breath work method in the entire world right now that actually takes the person at their needs, at the place where they are right now, and matches them with the proper breath techniques, the proper amount, the not just the timing, but also how often. All of these things have to be taken in. So
Mhm.
that's essentially what I've done with the welcome home method, and what my research moving forward is going to be is specific patterns of breath, where it's coming in, where you're holding, can literally change the chemical makeup of your body. So yeah, it's got to be very personalized, as we're talking about. Like the East is not immune to what we're our discussion. Like you can't just cookie cutter yoga's going to work for you. Yes, and
Right, right. Yeah, and to me, you have like the perfect resume and background for it. I would imagine, do you find yourself, do you work with a lot of the combat veterans? Because I know they struggle a lot. I know I have another gentleman that I work with or help support, because he'd like to see the veteran suicide, go down. And again, it's the psychology, but since you've been there, you've lived a lot of it. Because I know they're a very tight knit group, and unless you've kind of experienced it, they don't really open up and talk about
yeah.
it.
Yeah, and I'd say easily 60-70% of the people that come my way are all veterans. On top of the neuroscience and breath work that I do, I'm also a plant medicine facilitator. So I've worked a lot with some of these organizations and compounds, and very specifically with combat veterans, to your point. So yeah, it's amazing when you speak their language. Of course, they come looking for your opinion versus somebody else that doesn't know what they've been through, doesn't speak the language of darkness they speak, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, that was something I learned when I was back in Colorado because they had like the Phoenix Foundation, and there was, the fact that you were military, okay, could kind of get you in the door. If you weren't military, forget it, you weren't even going in there. But they're still more open to people that were more in the field and what they do. Um, for whatever reason. I mean, I can understand because you go through and you see a lot more than what most of us, see and experience. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And even when it comes to yoga, they still walk in a little skeptical because, it's yoga. Like, okay, tell me how this is going to heal me. But because they hear I'm a veteran, they're open to the conversation, which is amazing.
which is why I like people to and share their journeys and their stories, because at least that way they have a better understanding that, oh, wait a minute, this person's lived through something similar to what I've done. They can resonate with what I'm feeling or what I'm going through.
Exactly.
But yeah. Can
Yeah.
you share maybe a specific success story that profoundly impacted you during your work with the high
Oh,
performers?
yes. Oh my Lord. One of my favorites, and he is not a combat veteran per se, but he
Mhm.
is a police officer in the UK. So first responder, very similar mindset. You sign up to protect people and
Yep.
sometimes put yourself in harm's way and all this other stuff. So Eugene is was was suffering from primary progressive multiple sclerosis. And for those that don't know anything about MS, it is a neurodegenerative autoimmune condition that starts in the gut, and immediately your immune system essentially attacks your nervous system, starts to eat the myelin sheath, that protecting, the protective cover, kind of like the plastic over your wiring. That's what our nerves have. It's a myelin sheath that protects everything, and that condition eats away at that myelin. So of course they start to lose a lot of function, walking, all these things. So he's been 14 years on this journey now. And for 10 years, it was a very 4-year slow losing the ability to walk, finding himself in a wheelchair. And then at a certain point, he couldn't feel anything below his belly button for about 10 years. October 2024, he found the breath work. He found myself, and just like me, dug in like a tick. I love this guy so much because he would just hit me up every day like, oh my God, I feel this. Oh my God, I feel this. Within the first week, he was already feeling and moving his toes, which he had not done in over 10 years. He was experiencing pain and pressure in certain areas. And people might hear that and think, oh, that's bad. No, he's experiencing pain and pressure in areas he has not felt for over a decade. So it's a very good thing. It shows things
Right.
are coming back online. All the way to his year anniversary, he was in the middle of my 12-week training course called Awaken the Warrior Within, which is where I lead people through. It's a complete reset of the subconscious mind, rewiring of the nervous system completely. And after that program, walked up his own stairs. Messy. And I told him, it was so funny how he tried to down on it. He was like, I was a mess. I was leaning on walls. I was like, Eugene, stop right now. Quit it. I don't care how messy or if you fell over several times. You just walked up the stairs for the first time in 10 years. Let's just take a minute and celebrate that. All the
Yeah.
way to the point now where he has gotten his dye tests and everything else, zero symptoms, zero involuntary spasms. His doctors list him as, a miraculous healing, like they always do. They don't know how to explain it, so they just call it miraculous.
Hmm. Yeah. Wow. No, that's
And there's
incredible
so
because
many more stories like him. Oh
oh,
my
I,
God.
I know there's so much possible. So that kind of brings the other question: what's the most common misconceptions that people have about healing and self mastery?
That it is linear, that it is like this, and I move from here to here, and I'm going to get whatever I'm looking to get out of this whole situation, which allows you to really find suffering in your healing journey because it makes you feel like if I don't reach that next level, I'm failing. And there's many times during your healing journey, you're going to gain some ground, you're going to lose some ground. That's called healing. That's actually how the nervous system regulates. You can't always be on, it has to also be off. We have a sympathetic and a parasympathetic. So in the healing journey, the one thing I remind people constantly is this is a dance. Look at it as a do-si-do. You're going to take 4 steps forward, 5 steps back, 5 steps forward, 2 steps back. It's going to be a process, but I promise you, if you stick with it, you'll notice, just like the stock market, even though it goes down, it is consistently going up, even during its downtime.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Everything has its ups and downs, but if you don't focus on, the downs, you can still say you're still gaining momentum, which again, there comes in the mindset part, right? Because we're always good at beating ourselves up and focusing on the negative, but when you focus on the positive, you celebrate those wins. Yeah, definitely a little more hopeful.
Yeah, I like to call it, one of the things I remind my clients is, don't should on yourself, okay? Don't should on yourself. I should be here. I should be feeling that. No. That's the way to create suffering and to make you feel like everything that you've done over the past whatever, if it's been a month or two, like you've got a month or two of focused work on yourself. Let's celebrate that.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, because I've watched one of your YouTubes, you also had another challenge thrown at you.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So, I mean, I've had multiple, cancer was.
Yeah, I was gonna say the big C there, because I
Yeah.
know a lot of people get hit with that.
Yep. Yeah, that one was 2016. In fact, it was a month after my father was it was 22 a day suicides back then. Now it's like upwards of 44 to 50 a day. It's mind numbing. But he was one of our suicides. And a month later, I noticed there was extreme cramping, bleeding. Like, what in the hell is going on? I'm one guy, I'm sure there's other, that can actually say, I understand what you ladies are dealing with on a monthly basis. Like, oh my Lord, how do you deal with that once a month? Because even just dealing with it like I did, it was debilitating. Like, it just felt like somebody was doing the Indian rug burn inside of my intestines type of thing. And so yeah, that was about a month after Dad's death by suicide, and I was diagnosed with stage 2 colon cancer, 1.73 centimeter tumor inside of my sigmoid colon. And you can imagine, of course, same thing. The freaking conversation that came from the doctors was just like, oh, I'm so glad I was in the position I was in then to like take his onslaught. Like, I am so glad I have the education that I have, because you would have just scared the living crap out of me. And I think I would probably die tomorrow based on your prognosis. My Lord.
Yeah, between chemo treatments or cutting it out, removing it, or putting a bag in, or that's their normal go-to.
Especially with colorectal. That's what they wanted. 6 feet of your colon is going to get cut out, and we're going to give you a J-turn. Don't worry. You'll get the crap in a bag the rest of your life.
And my guess is that you took care of it and you still have everything.
I have everything, because I immediately said, nope, I'm good. If you're telling me that, here's the thing that a lot of people don't realize, that they'll tell you up front, but you're not honing in on it because they're fearing you to death to do these things that are not, I'm sorry, they are not medicine. Carpet bombing your body, which is chemotherapy with radioactive isotopes, is not medicine. Radiotherapy, which I have heard many people die after that, because you're literally microwaving your body and cooking your flesh. Like, all of these things, when I paid attention to what he was saying, would extend my life by years and give me the chance, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, hold on. So you're telling me I'm going to be crapping in a bag for the rest of my life. You can potentially extend my life by 3 to 5 years, but you can't guarantee anything past that. Yeah, I think I'm good with what I got. Like, if I can't figure this out, I don't want the next 3 to 5 years of my life to be horrible until I pass, because I went through your so-called healing pathways. So yeah, I said no and immediately started fasting. That was when I also dove into nutrition. And what do you know? Nutrition is 80% of the battle, my Lord. And now I'm not technically a nutritionist, but with all of the study that I've done, my first book actually that I wrote is called Nourishing Resilience. And it is all about healing the body through fasting and macronutrient control, which is literally put the right things in, you get the right things from the body. What do you know? Healing on its own.
It's amazing how that works. And it's kind of something my father has always said. My father's always said, it's about the quality of life, not the quantity. It's not how long, it's the quality.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're telling me you can only extend my life by 3 to 5 years, A, that sounds horrible. And then B, the way I'm going to be living for the next 3 to 5 years, no, I'm
I'm
good.
going to feel like hell during that because most of the times it knocks the snot out of
Yeah.
you and it starts yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to be what? Sickly and skinny and like just malnourished and horribly like mentally hit for no. I'm fine. I would rather meet my maker than deal with any of that. Oh my God. So yeah, I went down that nutritional path. I just dug into yoga even further. Again, educated myself on actual nutrition, not this dogmatic way of being. If people demonize certain things, if they tell you you have to eat a certain way, run the other direction as fast as you can. I'm sorry for those of you that are vegan, that look down on meat eaters and all these other things. If you're telling me I have to fit into a box, you have already shown me you know nothing about neurochemistry, you know nothing about biochemistry, and you're following dogma inside of diet. And I don't do any of that. Like, it's, again, what does your body need? Let's give it that.
Yeah. So, as someone who has helped many reclaim their internal authority, what advice do you have for those struggling to trust themselves after a period of emotional turmoil?
Yeah. So, one of the biggest things that you can do for yourself is in those moments where you're unsure, right? And you're looking for that way. Remember, you know the way. Your heart, especially based on everything we know now, 31 years plus of Heart Math Institute research, the new emerging science called neurocardiology. Your heart is your main brain. You have 40,000 neurons on the backside of that beautiful thing that is not just a pump. It is a helexical actual, it's the Fibonacci sequence spun onto itself and is where your energy actually comes from. Not to mention 80 to 90% of the signals between this guy and this guy go that way. That should tell you who the boss is, not this guy. This is a lieutenant to the general. This is your main brain. So when somebody is trying to find their way, what I suggest is give yourself 2 minutes, literally 2 minutes, to act like you have nostrils on your heart and just breathe nice and even, sit there in stillness and feel in to what this person is telling you. Feel in to that possibility. Feel into these things, and you will immediately get these knowings. You'll get these little intuitive hits. And now we have science even built around intuition. It all comes from your heart. You innately know what's good for you. You innately know what's best, even better than I do, because you are your own CEO.
Yeah. I love that. That's what I always tell people because I hate when people say, "Oh, well, the doctor said I have to do this." So that's their opinion. Doesn't mean
I don't care if it's, I don't care if
doesn't
it's
mean I
me.
have to take it. I'm like,
Exactly.
mine has gotten to know us where they're like, "Are you open to doing this, this, and that to bring that up?" Nope, I've got it. We can bring that down ourselves. I'm good. Thank you.
Exactly.
I'm like, thank
Exactly.
you.
Yeah. I don't care if it's me. If it does not jam with you, don't go forward with it. Like, you know what is good for you. You do.
Yeah. So, Leland, you've got your YouTube channel, right? The Willful Warrior. What can people expect to find on that on your YouTube channel?
So you can nerd out with me. You can, I get a little more detailed on the nerdy neuroscience side of things. And there's also a minute expression called 60 Seconds to Freedom. It's actually what I used when I was going through all of my things and coming off drugs and all that stuff. It's great for those that are dealing with pain. So you can go in and literally within 60 seconds, turn off the nociceptors, your pain receptors, all these different things, and shift your expression in that minute. And then there's also a 5-minute expression as well for people to try. So you can nerd out with me, or you can try a little bit of the breath work to see if it's something that speaks to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you also have an email list. So if people want to connect with you, that's a good way for them to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they can connect through the email there. They can also they can reach out on my website and contact me through there if they would like as well. So multiple ways to get a hold of me. Even if you message me on the YouTube channel, like, I'll answer you.
Nice. Well, we got about 5 minutes left. So what do you want to leave everybody with, or what do you want to make sure they take away from this episode?
Yeah, so if I could tell you one thing, it's what we just talked about. You are absolutely qualified to take care of whatever you need to take care of right now, including myself. Nobody outside of you knows what's best for you. Allow yourself to just recognize I'm proof. There's plenty of other people that are proof. I'm sure you have stories that are proof that you are not stuck with what you were born with. You are not stuck with what you were given. You are not stuck with the fallout of the decisions that you've made in your life. It is never too late to make a shift and a change. And it is simply allowing yourself to get more intuitive, silence down. And one of my favorite neuroscience principles that I teach from is silence down the noise. And you'll allow that signal that you came into this life with to turn on and tune up a little bit further. You are perfectly qualified to be the hero that you've been waiting for. You are the hero that you've been waiting for. The answer to the question you've been asking this whole time.
Yeah, I was like telling people, I was like, your body is your best MRI tool. You just have to know how to listen to it.
Absolutely.
Which
Yeah,
takes some slowing down and, and not being caught up in one rat race or another to do.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Don't jump from one frying pan to somebody else's frying pan. Like, just allow yourself to calm, settle, tune in a little further, and I promise you, you know which way to go.
Yeah. So do you offer also like a free consult and stuff
I
to
do.
see if you're going to be a
Yeah.
good fit with the people?
Yeah, and if anybody wants, they can reach out through that contact form there. I'll send them my Calendly link, and we'll jump into a clarity call. I love to do that because then, of course, I can find out what are your challenges, what are your goals, and that's one of the keys. Again, not that I don't downgrade other medical professionals or doctors, but if somebody's only focused on your challenges and they're not focused on your goals as well, again, find somebody else that's going to take the whole thing into account. Like yes, you have challenges, but remember, you also have goals. You
Yeah.
have things you want to do in this life. The challenges are not holding you back. Sometimes it's because we're not focused on our goals that those challenges are here.
And a lot of the work you do with people, you do online as
Yes,
well, right?
yes, that's the
But then
beautiful part
you
is,
have retreats too.
yeah, we do live in-person retreats, and then I have events which we're going to really kick up moving into like fall of 2026 and 2027. So I want to do more live stuff out there. But yeah, 80-90% of the stuff's online. So no matter where you are, I got you.
That you do. So, Leland, I want to thank you for taking the time and sharing your journey and stuff. It's absolutely an honor, and it's incredible and amazing what you have done. I love having people like you on so people can see that there is hope, there are other answers. So I greatly appreciate you taking the time.
My pleasure. And thank you for having me on. I love making these like-minded connections.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can think of a few people I could probably connect you to. I mean, being a veteran myself, I know a lot of people that have struggled, and I just always believe together we can do more. So, the more we can collaborate, the more we can get those suicide numbers down, healthier people. Yeah.
Amen. Collaboration is a key on that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, everybody, I want to thank you all for joining us. If you have any of these struggles or you have questions, please reach out to Leland. As you can see, he is a whole host of knowledge. He's got a lot more. We just don't have time to cover it all. So reach out and connect with him. And thanks again, Leland.
Thank you.
Everybody have a wonderful Monday, and we will see you all next week.